Well, okay then. Like, if you're gonna keep enabling me, then this nonsense shall continue until morale improves, declines, one of the two. I don't know which. So yeah, in fact, you've been enabling me rather more than I thought you would. The first video in this series, like, at this point, is like over 100,000 views, which is like, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot for this particular channel. Like 100,000 views on the Shorts channel. That's a Tuesday, right? Like that's because it's Shorts. Like they get a lot more views. On the main channel, sure, it'll take a few weeks, but a video can crack that. Like with given a little bit of time and attention. For this channel, this one right here, that's a bit much. And indeed, there's been maybe a little bit too much. The two ones I've done so far collectively have something like 2,000 comments between them, and that's not including all of the ones that have been held by the word filters, because there's been a lot of them that are held by the word filters, because besides all the interesting, fun discussion that people have been having in the comments, and like, especially people sort of correcting me about comics history, which is not my strong suit, and sort of giving the correct histories of characters and stuff like that, which I'm very pleased with. Like, if go check the comments of these videos, and people will tell you, like, the correct timelines for characters and stuff. There's also been some negative shit. Like, not just people disagreeing with me or people being rude about, like, bad things. You know, like, I don't know if this got posted to a Reddit somewhere or friggin' whatever, but some nasty shit also kind of snuck in there. And the word filter has been catching the majority of it, but, you know, still. But yeah, 2,000 comments at this point between the two videos I've done so far. I have given up at this point trying to keep up with it. Like, because some of these comments are, like, a mile and a half long. I can't read all of them. And running into the shitty stuff over and over again is like, kind of does a number on my brain. And this is my just have fun and hang out channel. This is where I just go to relax and shit post and yap. So I don't really want to get myself into having to do close moderation of the comments. So sorry, whatever you're commenting on these videos from now on, I don't think I'll see it, because I'm just not gonna read it. I'm gonna let the YouTube auto moderation go on its strict setting, and then it'll take care of hopefully filtering out the nasty shit. And y'all can talk, y'all can correct, like, please, for the love of God, keep posting the correct information about a character's history. When I say some nonsense that's not correct, like, post that down below so people can find it. That's a good thing. But yeah, just as a little PSA, I'm not going to see it. Also, as a PSA, in case you're coming in late here, hello, hi, I sit here and yap, right? This is not the video essay channel. This is not the researched channel. This is not the well-reasoned serious argument channel. This is me having fun and hanging out and just chatting about stuff and reacting to it as I see it, right? So as we all clear on our level of expectations here, let's progress down the track of heroes. We've gotten to 2 rows of them so far, and now we get to an interesting one, because who the fuck are you? Quite frankly, I don't know who Luna Snow is. Like, the first time I saw her on the title screen, I genuinely had the thought of, like, Iceman looks different. Like, did Iceman did Iceman have like a gender transition or something? That's really cool. But no, this is a different character, who, going by that animation, has something to do with music. Equal parts pop star and superhero, Luna Snow puts on a dazzling show with both her light and dark ice powers. Huh. The arena is a stage where Solhi and her team orchestrate spectacular displays that earn her an ever-increasing number of fans and wins. So she's a pop star. Okay. Wait, so is she like a mutant, or is she... Where does she... Huh. Luna Snow is more than another K-pop superstar. She's a K-pop star. Okay, she's also a symbol of hope for an entire generation, using her ice powers to keep the tensions across the world cool. Luna has become a musical diplomat, ready to face any conflict that may arise. Okay. Tragedy news struck during his Sonic concert. Wounded Atlantean creature caused devastating tsunami. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I need the wiki for this one. Marvel Wiki, help me out. I just need to know if she's a mutant. Like, is she a mutant? Where did she get her powers from? Tell me. Let's see. Lost her parents, became an idol. Oh, she actually trained in, like, the Idol Academy system in the South Korean music scene. Okay. Let's see. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. So that she was part of a group taking the stage name Luna, attacked by an AIM cell led by the Joro Spider. That sounds fucking cool. Okay. Group was taken hostage, trapped inside a Stark Industries cold fusion reactor, which malfunctioned and granted Luna cryogenesis abilities that she used to defeat the Joro Spider, blah, blah, blah. And then there was some War of the Realms stuff with some Asgard Cosmic Marvel things. Fought Cinder. Oh. A bunch of stuff with Muspelheim and... Okay, interesting. When is she from? When was she... 2019. Okay, so this is a recent character, which explains why I've never heard of her. Interesting. So, at the face of it, this sort of feels like another... Like, Marvel has a history of trying to break into the East Asian comics markets. Like, they tried Marvel manga, like, a couple of times before. I think they did a Deadpool manga recently that was apparently pretty good. Like, they've had, like, mixed bags of success with those, like, different attempts to sort of break into that comics industry. This sort of feels a bit like that on the surface. Like, again, I don't really know the full context for this. But it's interesting that, like, what a classic superhero origin. Because I was sitting here, okay, ice powers, like, mutant. Must be a mutant, right? Like, some relation to Iceman or something, or like, but no, like, it's not sorcery, it's not magic, it's just she went into a cryoreactor and then a science accident happened and now she has superpowers. Like, talk about it. We don't get a lot of those superhero origins anymore, do we, in Marvel? We don't really get those of, like, well, there was a science accident and now there's a superhero running around. Like, it's usually, oh, Terrigen gas and Inhuman genes, and because they're pre-associated thing with other superheroes, like superhero groups that previously existed. Here is just like a classic ordinary, well, not quite ordinary person gets into a Stark science reactor and now powers because of reason. Unexplained, but then like, how the fuck does this radioactive spider bite make a Spider-Man? Basically the same thing happening here. So, like, the priority for her character design clearly is making her attractive, right? And that makes sense for the character that she is, that she's like a performer, she's a show person, she's part of, like, the K-pop industry specifically, like a dancer, performer. This kind of character design makes perfect sense for that kind of character, right? Now, my sort of... Whoa! Can I make him do that again? I did not know my model could crack its head that far. Oh, come on! Come on, it was something about my hand position, right? Did I have to clip? Is this like a clipping glitch? Oh, I think hang on. Oh, it's some kind of clipping glitch. It's some kind of clipping glitch. If I do this correctly, I think I can clip through the wall backwards and skip to the credits. Okay, it's a little finicky. Figure it out later. What was I saying? Right, my broad structural criticism, this thing of, like, why always skinny? Why always this specific form of attractiveness, right? There's many ways to be attractive. Like, even within the relatively limited scope of being sexy, there's a lot of variety in how that can be expressed, right? This body type is only one of them, but this specific one singular version of what attractive looks like kind of keeps coming up over and over and over and over again. It's like, okay, even within the space of we want them to be beautiful, attractive, and like sexy and horny or whatever, there's a spectrum in there that you can sort of operate on, like, more than one space of that. The irony is the porn industry has no problem doing this, right? Like, the porn industry has, like, a huge, like, oh yeah, like, we have like small size difference thing, and we have, like, the MILFs, and we have, like, thick, and we have like the porn industry has no problem identifying that there are many, many different ways to make a character sexualized and sexy and horny, even to, like, a narrow mainstream audience. But when it comes to comic books, when it comes to video games, it's like, there is this thing of long legs, thigh gap, skinny, like, vague gestures towards soft thigh. Like, there is a very narrow band of body types. And it's like, it's always been weird. Like, because surely, you could go a little bit broader than just this. That's not a specific criticism of Luna, by the way. Her character design, like I said, this character design works perfectly for the character that she is. It's more a broad thing when you look at the whole field of, like, superhero characters and video game characters, that, like, this specific kind of body type comes up over and over. Like, you play something like Genshin Impact, right? Like, it's, like, very clear in the way that the characters are designed there that, like, the concept of having multiple different body types just kind of doesn't really come up that much for them. Because the characters are not really, like, the bodies are not really a priority in terms of the creative expression in that game. So yeah, I do like the fashion here. Like, the crop top jacket, like, the wraparound top, like, that one doesn't have straps, doesn't it? Does it? Not that I can tell. Yeah, the sort of wraparound tube top thing. Some little cute accessories, thigh highs to sort of really make the legs longer, emphasize, like, especially if she's supposed to be a dancer, that makes sense. It's sort of the same trick that Bayonetta pulls, right? And here, high heels for this character make perfect sense, because that's the kind of aesthetic that you would have as, like, a high-class pop star performer kind of thing. They're going for a little bit of, like, this is, like, the League of... I hate comparing it to League of Legends, but, like, you see the sort of crystalline structure there. That both works with her ice classification as a superpower, but it also... Oh, right, like, that's an aesthetic flair that's apparently sort of aesthetically associated with K-pop, which is interesting. Now, the thing that sort of gets me... Light and dark ice powers. Hang on. What are her ice powers? Because Marvel... She can produce dark ice for destruction and light ice for healing. Huh? Okay. Like, no, I guess she just hasn't been in enough comics that they've really sort of built out the mechanics of how it works. It is unusual to have ice powers for healing. Well, no, like, water powers are for healing all the time. I guess she could use ice powers in the same way. I don't quite understand the light-dark split, though, as a part of her. Like, outside of being, like, visually arresting, like, having a black-white sort of sharp contrast with the character design, that always works. But usually, the visual signifier of she has light powers and she has dark powers is that will represent some kind of personality split within the character, or some kind of temptation to use the powers for evil, or some kind of, like, nefarious influence on her, or some representation of a duality within herself that she struggles with as a hero, right? That's what the Venom suit is to Spider-Man, right? Like, Spider-Man puts on the dark Venom suit, and it makes him stronger, more powerful, more aggressive. It takes away his limitations. It makes him forget to be responsible. It's this... The whole Venom storyline, it's about that push and pull between those two different sides of the character, right? Same thing with, well, actually, here's a comparison that's close. The Ice and Fire dude from My Hero Academia, whose name I'm blanking on currently because it's 6:43 a.m. and I haven't slept. Toki... God damn it, I haven't read My Hero Academia in so long. I stopped reading after the raid on the Mafia boss Crow Mask guy thing, because I thought those fights just kind of dragged out forever and didn't really go anywhere. But that guy, right? With him, the fire and ice powers represent very specifically that he has an internal split, right? Like that his fire powers represent something very specific to him, which is his father, right? Like, which is why he was so determined to only win using the ice powers, right? And as he becomes more comfortable with his fire powers, that's also part of how the story begins to dive into Endeavor and not so much redeem him as it, like, tries to sort of grapple with him coming to realize that his behavior was wrong and trying to do something to make up for it, right? Like, so, like, the fire-ice power split there has a very specific function for the character, right? It says something about who they are. And that's often the case with, like, superpowers, especially on modern superheroes, is that the superpower is calculated to have some reflection of who the character is as a person. So the thing is, like, okay, ice powers, crystals, glittery, she clearly uses them for, like, stage illusions and, like doing stuff like that. Okay. So is it a thing of because she has somewhere inside of her kind of a cold personality, or there's, like, a thing where she freezes people out of her life, or that she puts up barriers, or that she's sort of obsessed with putting up, like, with having a veil of glitter between her and, like, is there something there with the split between dark and light reflects some kind of internal conflict with her? Well, I don't know, because the character design certainly doesn't imply it. The character design is pretty much only using the black and white thing fashionably it doesn't seem to be like a two-face thing. It doesn't seem to be a thing like that, which, okay, at that point, I wonder why have light and dark ice at all? Like, why not just ice? Oh, I can do all kinds of things with ice. It's, wow. Why specify them as light and dark? It's odd. It's like if you had a light side and a dark side of the Force, but no Sith, right? It's like, okay, but then why is it the dark side? If it's just, oh, dark side, it's just lightning. Oh, is there a moral component to that? Does that represent like a split in philosophy or motivation? No, just some of the powers are dark, and don't worry about it. Odd. I don't know about that. But yeah, like, the design does what it's supposed to do. The heterochromia also, again, like, so much visual signifier on the character that's usually you would interpret to mean, oh, this character is split between, like, different halves of different forms of herself, or different motivations or wants or needs. And I'm just not really seeing that here. And I'm also looking at the wiki, and I don't really see any sort of, like, any of that. Like, the wiki, admittedly, is sort of really shallow in terms of what it actually says about the plot of the books, so who knows? But yeah, cute, beautiful, like, attractive, a performer, looks like a pop star. As design goes, this is very efficient for what it is. I'm just baffled by the use of the light and dark split for apparently no reflection in her character. That's a little bit odd to me. What are her abilities? Like, presumably, like, she has the damage or heal, take center stage and start dancing, heal allies, or grant them a damage boost. Oh, that is a Seraphine-ass ability. Holy shit. Okay, I do like using the ice to make a stage, though. Like, that... Cool. Like, that... Nice way to use the ice generation like that. The ice is a part of her performance. Yeah. Share the stage. Attach idle aura to an ally. Restore health when she's healing others. Yeah. Oh, show me that ice skating animation. I want it to look dancery. Ah, no, she's just rollerblading. Darn. I was kind of hoping... Well, no, she's ice skating, isn't she? Like, that's a little bit... Yeah. I was kind of hoping that she would be doing, like, dance moves while she was skating around. I feel like that would be kind of cool, but oh well. Restore health when casting ice arts. Infuse ice energy into Namor and Jeff the Land Shark. Okay. It's funny that she has the synergy with Jeff. Like, you wouldn't think that ice would be a natural synergy for a shark, but okay. Interesting. Curious, like, yeah, curious. I kind of want to read some of her comic books now to get a better sense of who the character even is, because I'm still baffled by the light and dark split. Like, that apparently has no connection to her as a person. It's just an aesthetic? Okay. Odd. Magic, my girl. I mean, I fucking love Midnight Suns. I played the fuck out of that game. And I wonder, like, is her version here reflective of the same... Oh, wait, shit. I completely forgot. I forgot this with Iron Man as well in the last video. I just kind of skipped over it while I'm thinking. I forgot to look at the cosmetics. Let's look at the MVPs first. That's a little short, isn't it? I feel like she should have a little bit more of a performance than just this. Like, just like 2 seconds of something, then like point into the sky. That could go a little harder. That could go a little longer. I feel like you could be a little more indulgent with that. Ah, the prestige skin, I see. Come back. That implies that she's been, like, down and out. Let's bloom in the moonlight. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know really how much there is to say about this as character design. It's like, it's clearly supposed to be like a sort of Met Gala, high fashion, fancy ass, high class party outfit. And like, yeah. And again, the split between the light and the dark that I don't understand what it's for if it's not saying anything about the character, but oh well, I guess it's just for the aesthetic. I like the shader effects on the ice crystal on the shoulder, though. Like, that dark purple mixing in with like all of those little reflections and shit, that's quite pretty. And like the sort of like the snow crystal dress and all that, like, yeah, fancy. It looks a little, I don't know, maybe it's just the lacing, like the sort of snowflake lacing. It looks a little grandma. But again, like, I'm not a fashion guy. I could be very wrong about this. There's something about it has an old-fashioned feel to it, which I think is perhaps a little bit interesting in terms of, like, that sort of depends how she positions herself. Is she like an avatar of, like, upholding traditional South Korean values and culture, or is she more of like a progressive, I'm taking the country into the into the future kind of thing? I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about high fashion to really comment on that. I think maybe that shawl thing is a little bit much. I think maybe it would be more interesting if the shoulder was bare there, just aesthetically. I don't know. And here's the palette swap that doesn't really seem to change anything else. Yeah, fair enough. Now, magic, my girl, magic. So in Midnight Suns, magic is like more sort of broody, angry goth girl who is also the queen of hell. This is more like, this is a little bit more sort of metal album cover in the vibe. Yeah, so the lore looks similar to what it was in Midnight Suns, which, okay, let's have a look at this. So, like, a bit, the sort of, the split that seems to be happening here, and that's sort of the split with magic as I experienced, like, my only real experience of magic is Midnight Suns. That's, like, all I really know about her history, and who she is as a character. Like I said, in that, she, like, part of the point of her was that split between that she is someone who, like, seems to be trying to be some flavor of normal in the world, like, hold on to some semblance of normality and humanity, and so she dresses, like, fairly normally in that sense. Actually, let me find magic from Midnight Suns. The way she looks. Yeah, I don't want the battle outfit. I want how she looks back home at the academy. Okay, that'll do. Right, like, she has, like, she dresses like a punk chick, she dresses like a goth girl, right? Like, she has that fairly down-to-earth, relaxed aesthetic a lot of the time. When she's at home, she tends to have a dour, sort of slightly, like, dark personality. This is decidedly more showy, right? Like, this is much more loud, proud, showing off kind of vibes in the way that it's put together, from like the giant spiky shoulder pauldron to like the glowy like chest armor to like the midriff out and all of that. This is much more showy, so like this feels more like a much more sort of performance oriented version of magic than the one I knew from Midnight Suns, which again, how much of that aligns with what she's like in the comics, hell if I know. But yeah, I do miss a little bit of the normality there. Like, that's one of the things that I liked about magic character design in Midnight Suns, is that she clearly has this thing of like, yeah, I don't really like being Queen of Hell. It actually kind of fucking sucks, and it's a burden that I'm dealing with, and sort of just trying to turn to my own advantage as best I can. That like, she has this real disdain for the supernatural parts of her life that she seems, from a character design perspective, to be trying to counter by holding on to a kind of aggressive normality when she has access to it. Well, not aggressive, like kind of slightly mundane normality, actually. I like that about her in Midnight Sun. This doesn't feel like that. This feels like someone who is much more like, well, fuck yeah, I'm gonna look like the baddest bitch in the world, right? Like, I am gonna fucking dress up like that metal album cover, and I'm gonna kill any motherfucker, like, who gets in my way. Sort of playing a little bit into that particular kind of confrontational punk girl aesthetic that sort of, for a while, was associated with Hot Topic. I don't think it is anymore. And, like, I'm not gonna say she doesn't look good. It's like if I was a romantic man, this is someone who I would absolutely let ruin my entire life. But I do wonder, like, yeah, like, I guess she's just someone who's, like, more at peace and at home with being the Queen of Hell. Or Queen of Limbo, rather. Like, it's not technically Hell, it's Limbo. It's just layers to Marvel cosmology that I don't fully understand. Yeah, like the straps around the thighs, like the torn stockings. She looks damn good. And she looks fucking dangerous. Like, I like the asymmetry that so much of... And it's interesting because, like, in her intro, she's wielding it with both hands, but... Yeah, like, here, her sword arm is on the right. It's her right arm, so the left arm is, like, the... If she's right-handed, that would be the supporting arm. And that then has all of the protection on it, which, like, okay, that makes sense as an approach. If anything, I feel like they could have gone even harder. Like, I feel like they could probably have done more, like, with her makeup, for example. Sort of adding some more sort of dramatic, defiant, powerful makeup. Maybe some hair ornaments of various kinds, things braided into her hair. I like the earrings. The earrings are pretty cool. Like, the only real criticism I have of Magic's design here, like, again, because presumably it's trying to express a very different version of the character than the one I know, is, like, I think it could go harder. Like, I think everything that's there is pretty cool. I think they could kind of lean into it and go a little bit harder on it. Like, be a little bit more camp, maybe. A little bit more outrageous, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more angry, and then maybe a little bit less pretty, right? To sort of match the vibe. Again, there's the thing with body type, is like, why is it this body type every single time? Is that the body type that best expresses who Magic is as a character? I don't know. Like, I don't think so. I think you could do interesting things with any number of other body types, including, like, if she was fucking shredded, right? But, oh well, that's just the way things are with a game like this. Damn good-looking costume, though. Let's see the MVPs. I feel like the flash should be there, like right as she's like bringing the sword around, and then have like the trail of the blade around, more of an action pose rather than the power pose. It feels a little, maybe a little bit too like, but again, it's victory pose, right? It's like, I have slain you and now I'm standing here dominating. Yeah. It just doesn't have quite enough impact, I think, that pose there specifically. Like, a little bit more wildness in it. Or something. I don't know. Let's see. Silver Shimmer. Yeah, like that, for example. Like, the fucking sword over the eye thing. Fuck yeah, that's a good... Well, I'm thinking about it in terms of, like, flash frames. Like, this should be the maximum impact frame at the end, right? That fucking works. Okay, let's look at that costume. Eldritch Armor. He used Black Sorcery. It's his fault that Peter is gone, and he's gonna pay. Peter? 1983. Presumably not Parker. Oh, she has a demon form. Oh, shit. Oh, hang on. Wait a minute. Oh, now there... Okay, right, now... Haha, that makes more sense. Now, Yep. Like I said, you could go harder. Like, you could be... Like, if this is meant to be Magic in, like, a more... embracing the idea of being the Queen of Limbo kind of thing, you could go harder with that. No, yeah, no, but they had the same thought. They were there before me. I thought, oh, that's probably just a skin or something. No, it's because she transforms into a fucking monster with a something. Yeah, Dark Child. Transform into Dark Child, gaining enhancement to all of her abilities. Makes sense. Makes sense. I was like, oh, is that just a way to select skins? No, it's because she has an alternate form, you dumb like Hulk does. Oh, fuck yeah. Like, fuck the hell yes. This rather rules. Like, yeah. Like, even the spike on the shoulder piece gets longer. Very good. Doesn't it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does. Like, way more glow effects. More spikes, more elaborateness in the armor. She gets this fucking cool-ass texturing down her thighs. Big, wild mane of, like, angry hair. Ooh, even the earring changes. It's like it bursts open almost. Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, that goes hard. That goes pretty hard. I like that. There are probably things they could do to presage the demon child a little bit more in Magic's base form. If they wanted to. I don't think they need to. But there are probably things that you could do to sort of, like, imply the one within the other more strongly. Well, it depends. It depends on, like, you think of Hulk, right? Like, the fucking purple pants, right? That Banner always just so happens to be wearing purple pants, and there's that little, like, that little cohesion between them that, like, his transformed version is wearing the same color palette as his other, right? Like, so here I'm thinking things like, again, like, if you wanted to go a little bit harder with her makeup and accessorizing, like a little bit, like a little headband with horns on it that then becomes the actual fucking devil horns in the form. Some things you could probably do with, like, a tattoo that she has that then becomes, like, this bright, glowing, powerful thing on the Demon Child version. Like, if she had, like, a, I don't know, whatever her symbol is, an Omega symbol or something, on her arm, or, like, there on her forearm or on her stomach or something, and then that in the demon form becomes this blazing symbol of fire kind of thing. There are probably little things you could do like that that would smooth the transition between the two of them a little bit more, but it sort of depends on whether you want the transition to be these are two halves of the same person, like this is her other form, another expression of herself and her power, or if you want to say this is like she's possessed by this other entity that takes over sometimes, and this is a thing that she conceptualizes as kind of separate from herself. Depends how you see it. It would have been kind of cool if the torn, why is my brain telling me lederhosen? That's not what the fuck it is. It's not pantyhose either. It's stockings! Fucking hell, stockings. If the torn stockings were also in evidence, for example, on the Dark Child's legs, right? Oh, so that's why they're all fucking torn up. Because these spots on the thigh are where she has, like, spikes and, like, chitinous, like, fucking armor things on her. Like, little things like that, I think, could be cool. But, like, no, fuck, this goes fucking hard. Hell yeah. That's a good tail, too. Like, a good, powerful, like, gnarled, knobbly, stab you through the motherfucking chest kind of tail. That rules. Okay, so Eldritch Armor is from something in 1983, where we're sort of inverting the color scheme, and rather than being dark, now she is light, right? And, like, the white and blue sort of gives it ice vibes, and there's the X on the side, which she is associated with the X-Men a bunch, isn't she? Was she a mutant at some point? Like, was there at some point when her powers were, like, mutant powers? Were they always mutant powers? I think they're magic powers at this point. Hang on. But it is magic, right? Like, it is... Oh, she's a mutant sorceress, it says on the wiki. Well, okay, yeah, sure, that makes sense. I don't know that I like this very much as a character design for her specifically, because it is just kind of, what if she was wearing generic fantasy armor, right? Like, what if she was wearing MMO gear? Which, like, in 1983, surely there's a difference. Like, this would maybe hit a little bit different, but, like, after 2 decades of every motherfucker in every MMO running around in shit that looks like this just kind of doesn't really do that much for me. And it's also the question of, like, if you're inverting the character's color scheme, it should be because you are trying to say this is, like, a version of the character who is in some way different, relates differently to their powers, is a different kind of presence in the world. And, like, I don't really know the context of this from New Mutants, so I don't really know, like, whether that's a good expression of that, but absent context, this just kind of looks vaguely generic. I kind of like the demon form. I like the split ponytail thing. I like the sort of taking this very controlled, smooth, kind of dignified armor and then, like, fucking it up a little bit, making it a little bit more aggressive in the shape language, and, like, the sword way more aggressive and dangerous and scary. I like the fire effects, like, from the crown onto the horns as well. That's a good little bit of cohesion. And, like, there's definitely more cohesion between these two forms of her, because this form keeps so much more of her armor. But, like, the hair is... I don't know about the jiggle physics on it. Like, that's maybe a little awkward, but, like, as a piece of design, the fucking triple braids, they're pretty fucking cool. And then this is the color swap. Yeah, not a lot to say about it. That final flash frame still goes fucking hard here. Like, the blade up sideways and then turning it, and then that's the gish, because that's the moment right before she's gonna fucking end a motherfucker's life. Oh, yeah. Props to whatever artist did the post-processing rendering on that also as well. It looks really good. Then there's old Magneto. He's been through a thing or two here. Oh, I like that. Again, there's the question of, like, why is he shredded exactly? Why would... With Magneto, that kind of annoys me a little bit, actually, because, like, sort of the whole point of Magneto is that he doesn't fight by, like, with powers, right? Like, well, there's that one, like, he doesn't fight by, like, punching things. He fights by using his magnet powers and, like, manipulates the environment around him and doesn't get his own hands dirty, right? And there is a fucking amazing bit in one of his comics. I think it's from the 70s. Like, I think it's an old one. There's an amazing bit in one of his comics that I remember reading, where he goes up against the Red Skull, and he's like, yeah, no, I could kill you with my magnet powers, but fuck you, actually. I'm gonna beat you to death with my bare fucking hands, you Nazi piece of shit. And it goes so fucking hard, and part of the reason why it goes hard is because Magneto never does that. Like, Magneto isn't real... Well, I say... It's comics. Magneto has been a million different things for a million different years. He's died 15 times. He has been so many different incarnations of him. I'm sure there's one where he's like a boxing fighter who only punches people by putting metal boxing gloves on his hands or whatever. Like, one, I'm absolutely sure. Probably there's been a vibe for that. He just isn't big, tough, mech, strong guy, punches things with fists, shredded gym bro dude. But again, what's the history of this character here? Is this just post Krakoa? Because I've seen some pages from the Krakoa comic run, like the story arc for that, and he did not look that shredded to my memory in that particular one. Probably there's some lore thing that happened, but that doesn't feel very much like Magneto to me. Like, that doesn't really feel like his personality. That was why it was such an exceptional thing when he was beating the Skull to death with his bare hands. It's because, like, Magneto never does that. He doesn't dirty his hands like that. He uses his powers. He's like, he's the sorcerer archetype in that sense, right? So this, to me, is a little bit, I don't really know what to do with that as a piece of his character design and his storytelling. That he's sort of roided up to look like a physical fighter, but his posing and his animation and the rest of his character design all says he's I manipulate my environment with the pure power of my mind. That's the thing that makes him a counterpart, like a dark reflection of Charles Xavier, right? Like, it's that thing that Xavier has the power to influence people's minds, right? Because he's the guy who wants to like change humanity's minds and like make everyone sort of learn tolerance and get along with the mutants better and like the outreach and all that communication. And Magneto is the one who has the power to like reshape the fucking world and rip it apart on a material level, right? Magnetism, one of the fundamental forces of reality. He can tear shit apart with his mind, right? Like that's the sort of dark light counterpart thing between them. that comes in there, which, like, I don't know what the being shredded is supposed to add to that exactly. It looks even weirder on his classic fucking costume. He looks like Onslaught is the problem. Like, he looks like Onslaught, which is, okay, so Onslaught, I don't know enough about the comics history off the top of my head, but I think it was like an evil sort of universe level threat, horrible, like, version of Magneto. Was it that he fused with Charles? Like, is it because he fused with Charles Xavier and their powers combined made something, or he got a hold of the power cosmic? Who the fuck knows? For all I know, there's been 10 Onslaughts, and they were all different. But the Onslaught that I remember, specifically the one that appears in Marvel vs. Capcom, that was a version primarily of Magneto in terms of character design that was, like, huge and hot. Like me fucking, actually, I have Google. I keep forgetting. Instead of just sitting here trying to describe what he looks like, let's find him. Google. Yeah. And it was like a 90s-ass thing, specifically. Like, that's Onslaught, right? Which I think was like, yeah, it is a Charles Xavier Magneto mix thing or whatever. Some real fucking 90s-ass comic bullshit right there. Like, god damn it. And, like, super shredded Magneto just, to me, kind of brings to mind that. Like, and that version of the Magneto character design, right, was meant to be, oh shit, this is like a really fucked up, like, this is a Magneto that something's seriously wrong with, right? This is a Magneto that something has gone terribly bad. Let's see. Psionic entity created from the subconsciousness of two mutants, Charles Xavier and Magneto. Right. That's what it is, right? So it's like this dark hell corruption of what Magneto is. So for me, it's just odd seeing him be shredded. But okay, let's set that aside for a second. There's a bunch of things here that I do like, though. I like that the helmet has that, like, he's older, he has like the full beard thing going on. Like, Magneto has been 100 million different ages, but usually he's clean-shaven, I believe. I think in most of his appearances he remains clean-shaven, so the beard feels like a specific, I've been through some shit, old man kind of gesture in the character design. Same thing with the helmet, right? Like, that implies he's been through some kind of difficult conflict where someone got close enough to, like, almost get him kind of vibe. And, like, the whole armor is this clearly made of metal. Is like, yes, that kind of makes sense for him more than the purple and red, which is such a very comic booky color scheme. And also, like, weirdly makes him feel like he just is cosplaying Galactus all the time. I kind of like the gray and the red, like the metal, better. I feel like the thing with this would work a little bit better if it was like, oh, this is metal that he shaped into the shape of an armor with his mind powers, and that therefore it's not like, it wasn't forged together. It wasn't like hammered together with nails and like put together from plates and stuff, but it was like, oh, he formed this into like a perfect shell around himself by like perfectly bending and aligning all the metal atoms on like a subatomic level and making this incredibly hard whatever shell thing. That to me would feel a little bit better, because like, it's a little odd that he would wear anything that someone had, like, hammered together out of metal, rather than, oh, it's made of metal, I can just, there we go. That to me feels like it would express his powers a little bit better. Like, that his thing is, like, this total self-control and control over other things. That would also allow the armor to be in a contrast with the helmet. Like, the helmet to me has always felt like a thing that should be a specific standout on Magneto. Something that feels like, oh, that's a specific thing that he's wearing for a reason, not just as, like, it's not just protection for his head from stray bullets or whatever. It's, he's wearing that one because it does something very specific, which, of course, is keep Charles out of his head, right? X imagery, of course. So is this, like, because he has the X imagery, I would imagine this means he's still aligned with the X-Men in this incarnation. Which, I mean, I don't really know how Krakoa shakes out. So, who knows, but okay. Magneto 2014. Really? Surely he didn't wear a suit that looked like this in 2014. It's just the color scheme is from 2014, I have to imagine. Okay, no, for a second I thought the ass was different between the two color versions again, but no. No. Like, normal amounts of ass. Same thing with that one. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, this just looks too much like Onslaught. Like, with the fucking big buff physique and how puffed up it all is. I kind of don't vibe with it that much. Wait, does he make a sword? Ah, okay. Wait, where does he get the fucking sword from, then? What? So, like, Scarlet Witch can empower his sword. Where does he get the sword from? I don't see which ability it is that makes the sword, then. Huh. Okay, that's some gameplay thing I'll have to figure out some other time. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really vibe with super yoked, shredded, huge Magneto. I feel like that kind of counteracts some of the storytelling of him and the ways that his personality is usually presented. Again, maybe there's some kind of reason for it in the lore version of whatever this specific version of Magneto is, but it doesn't really vibe for me as a design for this character and what he does with his powers and how he relates to the world. It just doesn't feel like he's the guy who would be, I must, like, strengthen my physical body so I can punch people real good. Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't connect for me. Mantis, my girl. Yeah, so this is... Oh, Mantis, shit. What was her character history? Because wasn't it something about... Because, like, there's been a bunch of different... Because Mantis at one point, I think, was... like a martial art... Like, it was part of, like, that specific sort of 70s Marvel bit where they were really sort of leaning into the kung fu nonsense, right? Like, the same period that I think Iron Fist was kind of from. Of, like, the sort of... like, Hong Kong exploitation, like kung fu movies and, like, all of that. Let's see... Yeah. Right, the Celestial Madonna thing. That whole... whatever the fuck that was. I think there was some really weird... some really weird things about, like, how she had to marry one person to fulfill... Like, was the tree? She had to marry a tree to fulfill some kind of ancient destiny. Or a vision that someone had, and then something about getting married alongside Scarlet Witch and Vision. I don't know. She's been kind of all over the place, and I think Guardians of the Galaxy was the first one that sort of really... I think... Was it Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie, that retconned her towards being more of, like, a psychic alien? I don't remember, because she used to be like she was a human raised on Earth, kind of, but then some alien something. So yeah, clearly that's not what we're working with here. Like, we're not working with any sort of martial arts nonsense. We're not working with any sort of kung fu. This is like a plant sorceress with mental abilities that we've got going on. It feels more like a takeoff on the version of her we've seen in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I also have not kept up with this character's publication history at all, so who knows? So the bracelets here are interesting. Okay. Because, like, in large part, this is sort of standard Dungeons and Dragons druid gear, right? with a little bit of sort of techie something, because she has glowing lights on her ass for a reason I don't quite understand. Like with a little bit of a techie thing where like these look like overlapping armor plates kind of, but this is any tiefling druid, right? In a D&D campaign. And as such, I don't know that I find the costuming here particularly interesting. Like, it does its job. Like, this, you can tell what class she's playing, right? Like, you can tell what kind of character she is, what sort of role she has. I feel like there's a lack of the telepathic thing. Like, that sort of comes through in her head tentacles, I guess, like, extrude from the brain, psychic powers. Yeah, sure, that's a way to do that. But in order to do that, you would have to go for something more like wizard robes or something that's more monk-ish, because that's sort of like meditation, mental powers, focus thing. Okay, I like those bracelets, though. I like the leaf designs. I like that they are on her hands, and her hands are how she does all her powers. Like, they have, like, a clear function in the character, whatever the hell that may be. But the costuming, I think, is functional but uninspired. Like, none of this feels like it tells me very much about who Mantis is as a person. It feels a lot more like it tells me, again, what her character class is. Which, you know, fine from gameplay perspective, and, like, who knows, but, let's see. Alien ability to alter the emotions of others, Guardians of the Galaxy, captured by the Collector, put on display, manages to escape with the help of her fellow captives, travels to spaceways to a reunited team, display so... Okay, so there's nothing there about her nature connection specifically. Fair enough. Yeah, there's her Guardians incarnation. Pretty faithful, yeah. I kind of like the color scheme here better than the base version. Mostly because it's higher contrast. I have a thing for contrast. I like it when there are high contrast elements in the design. This is a very low contrast design in general. Oh, there we go. Had to load in a lot of assets for that intro, huh? Sentai Mantis. Now she's doing the kung fu shit. Once again, aligned with the Wakanda Space Empire, I suppose. Which, again, like, how the hell did Black Panther swing that? Like, getting all these characters to align with him. It's a little unclear to me, though. Is that her head tendrils with armor on them? Or are those parts of the helmet? Yeah, I don't really know. Let's see. What? I just want to zoom in. Okay. Apparently pressing the inspect button just replays the intro. That's a bit annoying. Can I please zoom in now? Okay. All right. So, what I wanted to, like, I wanted to take a closer look at, like, the braided cable thing that she's got going on with her legs. It feels like there's definitely some Warframe in here. Especially, like, the hyper-elaborate decoration on the texturing side. Like, all of this sort of muscle cable texture up and down the form. That feels a little bit Warframe to me, rather than the sort of more tokusatsu thing that Hawkeye had going on. Which is interesting. I don't know what that's supposed to say about the character, necessarily. Like, this, again, if Mantis' whole thing in this incarnation is nature powers, it's weird to put her in a fully armored tech suit like this. Like, I guess she has the bug wings, right, on her hips to sort of hold on to that vibe. I guess that's kind of what they're trying to do with the scarf, I suppose. I do feel like this should have more of, like, maybe have her fingers be free so that she still has her like a direct physical connection to the world outside of her suit. Because like a suit like this, as a shell, is also something that separates a person from their environment. Like that's sort of the whole point of a piece of armor like this. And like the druid thing benefits, I think, from having a visual, visible connection to the world around you. In fact, this might be a little... Like, you'd expect a druid to wear sandals, for example, right? You would expect a druid, or like, to have more bare skin and more natural fabrics, right? Which is what this outfit is gesturing at with all the browns and all the greens. It's like all earth tones. It's all supposed to look like cloth, right? But it's the sci-fi influence over top of that, the way that it all looks like armor plating, the way that it all looks like it was manufactured by someone working in a factory rather than an artisan working with their hands. There's that separation from nature that happens here as well, with all the tech nonsense, where the color scheme is really carrying a lot to make it seem still nature-aligned. And I think that gets really lost in the Galactic Wings version of her. Which, like, again, as we see with like, her powers, as they are displayed in her intro sequence there, is like, her powers here are she kicks you real hard with green energy boots or whatever. Not really anything to do with manipulating nature or telepathy or empathy or anything like that. So, I don't know. Hang on. No. Get out of that costume. That's a little undercooked. I feel like you could do a little bit more with that. Have her summon some plants or birds, or like what are her abilities in game? I should probably... Let's see. Spores to sedate the nearest enemy. Okay, so she mostly throws energy around then. Yeah, okay, so she doesn't really summon plants in-game, I see. Okay, fair enough. Then I guess that makes sense to not have any of that in her MVP animation. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Like, that sort of emphasizes more, like, the whole, like, the ringing of a bell and resonance. I like that. Like, the sort of ding, ding, ding ringing of a bell, and, like, that being the way that she established a connection. I like the little pop of energy away from her eyes right at the final ding. Like, pay attention to that. Bling! Yeah, this is just, I guess, the martial arts version of Mantis. Which, I mean, okay. Okay. It feels incoherent. Like, I don't really know what to do with that, particularly. Yeah, uninspiring costume. It's not bad. Like, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just, oh, okay, that's a druid. That's a druid from all of the D&D games. Which, okay. Now, Moon Knight. Shit, I'm worried about saying anything about Moon Knight, because, like, Matt might find this video and kill me if I talk shit about his boy. I also don't know that much about Moon Knight. I never watched the series with Oscar Isaac. Was it Oscar Isaac? I think it was. And I don't know that much about Moon Knight in general. I know that one of the sort of jokes with the character is that he's like, he doesn't really have that much in terms of powers. Right? He has like whatever powers Khonshu decides to give him at any given point in time. And he's like, when the moon is full, he gets stronger, and when the moon is like in shadow and eclipsed, he gets weaker. And that's sort of just like up to Khonshu how much power he has on any given day, and then beyond that he has all the Batman gadgets, right? But also Moon Knight is just someone that in the Marvel canon people are fucking terrified of Moon Knight because he's like, because it's not like fighting Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man is like he'll show up, he'll say some quips, he'll beat you to a pulp, but he'll hold back with it. Like you can sort of count on Spider-Man being reasonable and sensible. If Moon Knight decides that you need to fucking die, it's a bad time. Like, because you have a very intense, weird person chasing after you who's just unfucking stoppable at the best of times. Who like can just at some point their god can just decide, yeah, you're immortal now. Go kill a guy. So like people are scared of Moon Knight in the Marvel canon, and he's at all kinds of power levels at various different points, I think. And I think this costume is reasonably like a heightened Marvel Rivals version of how he looks in main canon, more or less, I think. Hang on. Again, I keep forgetting I'm here with the fucking wiki in front of me. How many different Moon Knights have there been? Because, like, there's only really been Mark Spector, right? Yeah, I don't think there's been a lot of alternate universe versions of him. Yeah, no, like the sort of central elements of Moon Knight, I think, are the crescent moons and, like, the big cloak with, like, the little hood, like, the bird hood thing on it. I think those are, like, the central elements of Moon Knight, and then the rest of the costume is sort of negotiable in terms of, like, what it includes and what it doesn't. The Ankh, I think, is not... He has a normal iconography? Because, like, yeah, Moon Knight started as basically just this, more or less, I think, sort of in the olden days. Like, very standard sort of superhero costume thing. I'm looking through a bunch of different... Oh, no, the Ankh is a thing. Oh, okay, so that's been part of his iconography also at various points. I'm sort of looking over it here. Oh, that's a spawn-ass motherfucking Moon Knight. Hang on. Oh, oh, someone had been reading some Todd McFarlane. Is that just Todd McFarlane? I don't think that's... Is that McFarlane's style? I cannot find a source for what this is from. Let's see. No, it's David Finch. Yeah, that makes more sense. But it's taken some notes from Spawn. I think that's putting it mildly. That's an interesting rendition of Moon Knight there. Oh, that's funny. I mean, Spawn is wildly popular. McFarlane is a fantastic artist. But yeah, it's the hood and it's the crescent moon and it's the black and white split. Usually Moon Knight has a little bit less black on him than this version. No, he doesn't. That's not quite true. Okay. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about his character design. There's not much. It's a super suit. Like, he wears a super suit. He has the iconic cloak and stuff. I guess it's fine. Like, I don't think I have any criticisms much to say about what Moon Knight looks like here. I think maybe the super suit is a little over-elaborate. I think part of Moon Knight's appeal as a character design is that he tends to keep it very simple with, like, that flat black, flat white thing that he's got going on. So I think maybe doing all of this elaborate armor pieces and, like, the black jumpsuit with the white plates over top of it, I think it's maybe a little too Batman, like a little Arkham Asylum, that in a way that it probably doesn't need to be with Moon Knight. But I kind of get it as... a version for Marvel Rivals, I guess, to make him look up more elaborate and dangerous. Like, I could see the idea that if he was too simple, if he was too stylized, too flat, the way that his comics incarnations sometimes are, that would make him out of step with the aesthetic of the rest of the game. But on the other hand, would also make him stand out. It would make him unique, which is, like, kind of what I'm looking for here, because... especially with the mask, I'm sort of getting... you know... I mean, Mortal Kombat to an extent. Also a little bit of Zed League of Legends. But, you know, it's probably fair to say that Zed is probably more inspired by Moon Knight than the other way around. Let's look at what else we got. Mr. Knight. Ah. Yeah, see, I like that better. I like that better because it is simpler, right? Because it maintains that stark simplicity of just being a guy in a fully white suit kind of vibe, like with the gray vest over top as a sort of concession. I would have liked it better if it was a completely black vest, or a completely white vest for that matter. I like that a lot better. Like, this feels a little too Batman for me. Like, this feels not really specific to Moon Knight as much as it feels like this is generic superhero suit number 486. That feels more specific. That feels more only Moon Knight fucking looks like this kind of vibe. So I gotta say, I like that a lot better. Yeah. Like, look at that! That looks fucking badass as shit! Whereas here, it's like, wow, nice Batman cosplay, dork. Right? It feels too unspecific to him. Oh, I didn't even notice that when I was looking at the... But yeah, like the fact that there's a seam up the mask also grants a little bit more of that, like, this isn't a cosmic mystic supersuit that was granted by the god Khonshu. He put that together himself, right? He bought a nice white suit, he made a mask for himself on, like, a sewing machine. It has a little bit more of that aspect of it, too, that Moon Knight is someone who's just a very intense weirdo. That is kind of unnerving and scary. Whereas this looks a little bit like it's a little mall ninja, ultimately, right? Like, it's a little, I bought all the coolest gear I could from some magazine I found on like a bodybuilder forum from the 2000s, right? It's a little too much gear. It's a little too much, this looks fancy and cool and tactical. Whereas, like, the relative simplicity of this feels way more scary and intimidating. Like, I would be more scared of this guy than that guy. That guy looks like he's about to trip over, like, his own complicated boots and not quite be able to get up because, like, that thing makes it hard for him to bend his arms the way he needs to do in order to support his weight, kind of. This guy looks like someone who's going to kill you in an alleyway if the god inside his head tells him to do it. No, yeah, like, that I fucking love that. And it looks so much better with this one as well. Like, come the fuck on. Yeah, no, like make that one the skin, make that one the default. Honestly, that's my prescription for Moon Knight, because, like, come on. Come on, that's too Batman when you have the other thing as an option. Anyway, Namor, you look different. Admittedly, my mental image of Namor will always be, like, his old-timey, like, Fantastic Four. Basically his first appearance ever in the Fantastic Four, when he was, like, just a guy with weird eyebrows and Speedos. Yeah, this one. Just, this will always be Namor to me, forever. For all eternity, this is Namor. I don't care what other costumes you put him in. I don't care what else you do with him. He's the weird guy in Speedos with the incredible eyebrows and wings on his legs. That's fucking Namor the Submariner. Like, this thirst trap wannabe Jason Momoa ass. No, I will not accept it. That is not Namor. Well, it is. It is Namor. And I'm sure he's looked like that in the comics for 10 million years at this point. Well, no, kind of. Hang on. I'm looking for a more recent incarnation of him. No, it isn't. He doesn't... At least the pictures I can find on the wiki. I can't find any instance of Namor looking anything like that. Okay, so this is... Is this like a... Hang on. What does he look like in the fucking movie, I should ask? Because they did do a movie. Okay, I guess he looks a little more like that. Right, that was the one where they took a bunch of, like, sort of, North America. It was because it was in a Wakanda, a Black Panther Wakanda Forever thing. Okay, it makes a little bit more sense with that, I guess. But still, I can't really find any incarnation of Namor who looks anything like this. Where's this version from? Is it like is it a takeoff on a really obscure version of him, or is it like fully some alternate version of universe version of him I've never heard about? Oh, he's a mutant now. I'm looking at the wiki again. Apparently he's a mutant now? Or he's been that for a while? He definitely wasn't that at first. Okay. But then he's died like 14,000 times, and God knows what kinds of powers he's had over the years, so. Yeah, okay. This is odd. Yeah, like, I really... As an aside, I'm finding it kind of hard to disentangle this version of Namor from the Jason Momoa Aquaman. Like, I mean, the wings on the feet help a lot, but in terms of, like, the elaborate costuming, and, like, it feels kind of more DC in some of its aspect than Marvel, and it's weird that I can't find any version of him from the comics or even the movie that really looks like this at all. Huh. Weird. Yeah, I kind of don't recognize this guy as Namor. Like, there we go. Like, that's the Wakanda Forever version of him. Which, like, was specifically meant to be, like, sort of, like, North African, I think, inspired, like, with some, well, maybe not North African so much as, I don't 100% know. It looks a little bit like, could also be Mesoamerican, maybe? But it was, like, meant specifically to be one that's, like, inspired more specifically by non-white cultures, right? Like, whereas Namor, as he originally appeared, was, like, a very white-coded character. This version of it, I kind of don't get what I'm supposed to take away from this version of him here. As a piece of design. Like, there's so much aggression in the spikes. There's so much, like, anger and, like, I'm ready for battle, I'm gonna kill people. Same thing with, like, all the sharp shapes in the shark teeth ornaments that he's wearing. It's very aggressive. It's very, like, I'm a conquering warrior. I'm kind of missing... Like, that's one thing I thought that the Wakanda Forever design did quite well, is that there's this aspect of, like, regalness, right? Of royalty, of being decorated with pearls and gold, and having, like, this big collar around the shoulders. Like, that he's, like, an embodiment of a kind of royal dignity. Where this feels more... Again, like, it feels toyetic. Like, something about this feels a lot like a toy I would have seen in Toys R Us in the 90s. Specifically because of the way that, like, all of this goes so fucking hard on being spiky and aggressive and angry. Which I guess he's, like, a duelist. Yeah, so I guess it's to sort of support him in the role of being, like, a primary damage dealer. Which, I mean, okay. I just kind of struggle on how to read his character here. Because, like, Namor, again, this is because my understanding of who Namor is genuinely so locked. Because it's my grandmother used to have, she kept all of my dad and his brother's comics from, like, when they were children. And they, at that point, even had, like, a collection, I think, of old comics from some other family member, like, which were, like, the really old fucking Golden Age comics from, like, way the hell back when. They were in terrible condition. They were all translated in, very poor translations into Danish. But I used to read them as a kid. And, like, there were a bunch of the old Fantastic Four comics in that collection. So, like, my mental image of the Fantastic Four, my mental image of Namor is kind of stuck in those, like, very early days of Marvel depictions of the characters. So I have a lot of trouble squaring this with the version of Namor that I understand. Because the version of Namor I understand is the one has, like, where he's essentially sort of patterned after... a little bit after the idea of, like sort of louche, overbearing, arrogant European royalty. Counterposed against, like, the sort of good old family patriarch of Reed Richards in the U.S., who's, like the sensible... strong head of the family whose job it is to sort of, like, guide his wife Sue away from this, like, wild and like well, not wild, but this dangerous and sort of exotic temptation of, like, the imperious European royalty who's, like, coming in and being this threatening presence, like, much more, like, naked, sexualized kind of. I don't really know how to read this character because, like, a lot of the design with, like, the long hair and the blonde color against, like, the teal, that to me is like, oh, that kind of reads California beach bum a little bit. Same thing with, like, the necklace with the shark teeth on it. It's like, that reads very sort of casual, very, yeah, I'm just a guy who hangs out. Yeah, cool. Like, that reads kind of that way. And then, like, all of this reads like, I'm aggressive, I'm angry, I killed people, I'm a warrior, I'm a fighter, and I'm sort of missing he's the king of his people, that imperious, controlling, arrogant, high self-regard, obsession with sovereignty thing that usually, for me, is an identifying feature of Namor as a character. This just feels like a completely different guy. Like, this feels like Namor's, like, shady twin brother, Namor, right? Who went a different route. I don't know. Yeah, like, he's kind of, like... This feels a lot like a costume that you'd put on Jason Momoa for one of the Aquaman movies, right? Like, and Namor and Aquaman have always had... There's always been some pretty fucking obvious overlap between those two characters, right? Like, they've never been that distinct from one another entirely. But this feels like it's leaning into that confusion rather than trying to clarify Namor as a specifically unique thing onto himself. Like, Namor, for example, I do feel like he should have a swimmer's physique, right? And, like, swimmers don't tend to be quite that shredded. Swimmers have a tendency to be quite lean and quite, like... They tend to have, like, very long torsos. Right? Like, that's a swimmer's physique, right? Like, that's a swimmer who's, like, really fucking fast and good at what they do. That's what their physique kind of tends to look like. A little weird and off-putting in some instances, like, especially, like, the really sort of physically, like, dominating swimmers, the ones that really sort of win everything, like Michael Phelps here. Right? Like, they tend to have anatomies like that. And Namor, if anyone, feels like he should have a swimmer's anatomy, right? Like, he feels like he should have a body that kind of does that. And again... I like the idea of Namor as being kind of alien and off-putting in some small way. Like, that to me was always one of the... Felt like part of the point of his, like, wild out there fucking Vulcan-ass eyebrows, right? It felt like it was something that was meant to make him a little bit weird and alien. Like, I think there's some yellow scare in there also with the design of Namor as he and Atlantis were conceptualized back in the olden days. Or Yellow Peril, rather. But, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm having a lot of trouble with this one, because, like, I don't want to just say, oh, well, it doesn't look like classic Namor, therefore it's wrong, because I don't think that's fair. Like, and I don't think that's a good way to judge the character design. It's just, I don't know what this is saying. Like, I don't really know what kind of character this is trying to communicate for him. That's mainly the thing. Yeah. Again, I feel like here we have kind of a situation where adopting straight up the design from Wakanda Forever would have given a stronger sense of character to him. Yeah, I just don't really know what to do with this. I really don't. I'm genuinely kind of confused. And then there's Penny, a very different version than the one we see in Spider-Verse. So, like, interesting, like, a lot of people were calling Hulk, right, Bruce and Hulk, the diva of the game, right? Feels a little bit like this is probably the diva of the game. Like, all things considered, this feels like the more obvious diva, but is it a thing where she can get knocked out of the spider bot at all? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like she can get knocked out of the bot. She doesn't have the trigger, at the very least, to turn over to the... But yeah, like, this feels a lot like the diva of the game. This feels very explicitly like it's trying to build on Diva's appeal. Like, as unambiguously one of the most popular characters. How old is Penny Parker in this incarnation, by the way? Cause like she looks kind of young to be wearing a skin-tight suit that's in a character model that's sculpted like that. A little. I would hope that she's... Yeah, because that's interesting, because, like, from what I could tell from the abilities is... She's in the mech all the time, right? Like, it's not like she runs around outside of the mech and does stuff. You know what to do, spiders? Right? So it's a bit interesting that, like, when I try to zoom in, it zooms in on her and not the bot at all. Which, like, fair enough, she's the character, but then, like, put her inside of the bot instead. That's a little meh. Yeah, no, I don't know how old you're supposed to be. It's not very comfortable. Okay, well, the robot, then. That's the thing I'm most interested in. It frustrates me I can't zoom in on the robot, because I'm kind of... That's kind of the thing I want to look at the most. But okay. Because, like, we're going for some classic sort of, tokusatsu vibes, in a way that, like, Into the Spider-Verse, like, gave her a sort of a more... somewhat more goofy and cartoony. Let me try and see if I can find some art of the bot in... Oh, I guess I can't, because you don't want me to hotlink to it. Well, fuck off. Yeah, like, Into the Spider-Verse, like, went with much more of, like, this big, goofy, round orb bot that kind of had a personality of its own, right? Like, that had a face that seemed to have, like, an internal AI that, like, makes its own decisions and things like that. Yeah, no shit. this is like, when she's not inside the bot, clearly it's just not doing shit, right? Like, clearly it's not doing anything. Which, I don't know enough about Penny Parker's history. I think she was one of the things that came out of some of the manga experiments that Marvel did at some point or another. I think so. Or did she get introduced to the Spider... I need to know now. Fuck. God damn it. Okay, back to the wiki. Because her publication history was... Oh, it was Spider-Verse. It was Edge of the Spider-Verse number 5. Okay, so it's not from one of the manga experiments then. Right? It was written by Gerard Way? The frontman for My Chemical Romance wrote the first Penny Parker story? Yo, what? Yeah, created by Gerard Way and Jake Wyatt. Okay. I'm learning things. Oh, shit. I'm gonna get dragged into like a wiki dive here if I'm not careful, but... Well, okay then. Right. Anyway. I'm sorry, I keep getting caught by things in the wiki, because, like, the funny thing about tokusatsu, right, and this is a fun fact that you probably know if you're, like, anything like a comics fan, is that Marvel licensed out Spider-Man for a tokusatsu series in Japan in the 60s, I think it was, where Spider-Man summons a robot that he uses to help fight the bad guys. That was sort of one of the things he does in that thing, and that particular TV show helped popularize and kind of invent a lot of the tropes and things about the tokusatsu genre as a whole, right? Like, a lot of that came from that show. Not solely, like, culture is more complicated than that. There's all kinds of complexities to it. But, like, a lot of tokusatsu comes from Spider-Man, weirdly. And so it's kind of, like, chill and fun to see, like, that they've sort of adopted it right back by giving Penny, like, fully a fucking tokusatsu-ass toyetic robot to ride around in, which I wish I could get a better fucking look at. I want to see the top of its head when I'm zoomed in on it a little bit. I want to see the detail on the... Because, like, presumably it's a transforming robot, ultimately, right? Like, that'll be how it's deployed, but... Yeah, I feel like there's more spidery things that could probably be done with the robot. Like, that's one of the things I liked about the Into the Spider-Verse incarnation of the robot, is that it had that sort of orb spider affect to it a little bit, right? Like, in a way that this feels much more like a humanoid, very slightly spider-themed robot. I feel like you could probably do a little bit more to make it specifically, but it's also, like, looking at it, it's also pretty accurate to the way that the robot is presented in the comics, right? Like, that it is very humanoid in the way that it's put together, like a sort of humanoid metallic reflection of the base design of Spider-Man. I like the fucking V. I like everything I like about this design just comes back to, like, shit that would look cool on a Gundam. Like, shit that just looks cool in the way that like, the sort of tokusatsu robot characters and Gundams are cool. But not a lot of it comes back to the spider influence on it, which, like, it's maybe a little bit of a pity. I feel like there's something a little bit more explicit that could be done to spider theme it. And I guess that's a criticism of Penny Parker's character design as a whole and the robot's character design as a whole, not just in Marvel Rivals. Does Penny wear that kind of a plug suit anywhere else? Because she didn't in Spider-Verse. And I can't really find a lot of pictures of her here. Because, like, I don't see when I'm Googling around for Penny Parker. It's mostly the schoolgirl outfit, because that's kind of the space that she's in, like, sort of classic. Oh, boy. Okay, stricter safe search on that one. Ugh. I am glad that was not on screen. Yeah, most of the Penny Parker fan art seems to take off from Spider-Verse, though. I'm not really finding a ton of... Yeah, like, because in the comics, it's mostly that she's wearing, like, black leggings and a sweater. And, like, the skirt is there. But it's, like, more on the sensible side. I don't know if this is from an official comic. But I kind of like the face on the robot here better. Because, like, you can see the mandibles sort of being implied on the thing. Why not multiple eyes? Like, why not give it more than... Yeah. But that's the standard Penny Parker outfit that you usually see. So the plug suit seems to be a Marvel Rivals original there. So here's the Venom version. Again, so much of the change is happening in the robot, and I can't see it. But it does have the mandibles, right? Like, well, I don't know that they look a lot like spider mandibles. Look more like an ant almost. But it does have the mandibles there, which I like a little bit more of that animalistic influence over top of it. I kind of like the boots on the Venom version. Like that, sort of, they get these larger feet. That's kind of a nice change to the silhouette. In general, this is like a little bit more armored, a little bit more like a sort of boiler suit a little bit, rather than like a skin-tight plug suit. Not by a lot, but by a little, and, you know, everything helps. Yeah, like with the sort of spider web, slightly Spider-Man symbol, the somewhat more organic shape language of the Venom version feels more animalistic in its way. It feels a little tiny bit more spider animal-ish. And I kind of like that better. Oh, wait. Can I see? No, I can't. Okay. Damn it. She put a sticker on it. I'm trying to see what it is. Are those little Daima things? Like those little orb things, I guess. And then there's one over here which is like a Game Boy console, like a little gaming console kind of thing. I like the stickers a lot. I like this, again, as expressions, because, like, that's the other thing. Like, I feel like an opportunity in the character design is you use what Penny has done to customize the robot as a means to express her as a character, right? Like, she puts stickers on it. She might, like, maybe she draws a little doodle on it. She customizes it in small ways that sort of align with her aesthetics, like whether that's cutesy, whether that's cool, whether that's whatever. The robot should definitely be an extension of Penny's personality in a sense, right? And the vibe I get from the robot is that Penny is a fucking, like, robot enthusiast, right? Like, she's someone who fucking loves big, scary fighting robots and tokusatsu robots, but then the vibe I get from her animation and character design otherwise is that she's a Genki schoolgirl. Of the Genki schoolgirl variety that, like, what you see in your Japanese animes, right? So is the robot particularly an expression of her? Is it meant to be like a gap thing where, like, the robot is this, like, brutal, scary war machine thing, and she's this adorable, cutesy little girl, and you're supposed to find the disconnect between the two charming? I'm not 100% sure. But I think I want to stop. But okay, we'll do the MVP animations, I guess, but that's very, very, very diva. And here, the robot gets to be front and center. That's nice. Yeah, I kind of feel like they were trying way too fucking hard to make a diva. In terms of the way that they're presenting her, in terms of, like, the cutesy, idol posing Genki girl. Yeah. It feels way too much like they were trying to turn her into a diva. And it doesn't really feel that much like the versions of Penny Parker that I'm familiar with, either from Spider-Verse or from the comics. Either as a character design or as a personality. Yeah, I don't know. This just makes me vaguely uncomfortable, frankly. It's a pity, because, like, the robot is fucking cool. I like the robot a lot. It's just, the game seems a lot more interested in showing off the prepubescent girl in the skin-tight bodysuit, and that's a little... Like, seriously, what age is she supposed to be specifically? Because, like, if it's anything under 20, it starts to feel a little, you know... what a note to end on! What a note to end on. Just, let's go back and look at magic for a bit, because, like, I'm warming up to magic the more I look at her. Like, I had this thing in my head from Midnight Suns where I really, really like magic as a character in Midnight Suns, especially the way her character design is portrayed, and it was kind of hard for me to let go of that looking at the Marvel Rivals version. But the fucking demon form, though. Like... That goes several kinds of hard. I like that. Like, there are little things in the design I could nitpick about. Like, I would like it if the demon form had the stockings as well, and that they were ripped even more in the demon form, like sort of riffing a little bit on the Hulk thing with the pants, right? I would kind of like that. But, like, I also like the, like, because, like, she has this sort of standard, again, the standard superhero body posing, right? Like, which is this, like, contrapposto with, like, heavy emphasis on, like, hips, waist, maintaining that S-curve in the way that she's standing, right? Like, sort of standard female superhero posture thing. And I like that we get to contrast this with this, like, hunched over digitigrade leg. Well, not digitigrade, it's plantigrade, I think it is, when it's the hoofs with the single toe thing. No, not plantigrade. Not it's has another. It's a fucking ungulate. I don't know. It's anatomy words for animals that I don't know. Like that we get that strong contrast in posing and posture where like this is being used for something, right? She's posing like this so that this becomes a more powerful contrast, right? Like it's used with some intentionality, I hope. I would certainly like it to be. Because, like, this fucking slaps. Like, yeah, this goes fucking hard. And, like, again, the only criticism I could really come up with for this is, like, you could go even harder. But you probably couldn't within the limitations of what Marvel Rivals is capable of doing. But it is still a thing, like, the only thing there would be, like, I would fucking push it even harder. Like, I would give her multiple horns, like, fucking give her 4 arms... really lean into the, like, scary motherfucking hell monster who's gonna kill you in every way that it's possible to kill you kind of thing. Like, go even harder, go way over the top with it, like, really, really deep into fucking Iron Maiden album cover territory. But it's there already, like... I really like this version of Magic, actually. Yeah, let's end on that note instead. Well, actually, let's, like, I have to do it. I have to do it. And it's not that I hate promoting my merch store. I like the stuff I've made. I've bought a bunch of it for myself. At as much of a discount as I can get it. I don't like advertising. It's not my favorite part of the job, but it's something you have to do if you want to do this for a job, is you have to advertise the things that are there. And you have to say, hey, we're working on even more stuff that's coming to the merch store soon, TM. Could be some weeks. I'm working with, like, multiple different artists for the one thing, and, well, the other thing... Shit, the other thing we might have ready for Christmas, actually, if I stop recording this video now and go follow up on those emails, maybe, possibly, potentially, we could have something ready for Christmas. That would be very cool. I would like that. But yes, merchandise store, link in the description. You can buy things from me that have stuff on them, and you can put it on your body. And that, if you only follow this channel, that phrase maybe doesn't mean anything to you, but that's over on my main video essay channel, is where every time I end a video, I say, Thank you very much for your time and your attention. Remember to be kind to one another, have solidarity with those who struggle, and may the tides of history wash gently over us all.